Media for your GCSE course, and this time we're going to look at newspaper and magazines. Now, newspaper and magazines are the oldest and most traditional form of media that we have. Okay, some estimates dating it back to the origins of sports in around the 1600s, when organised sports became more and more popular and were therefore of interest to people, and they're then reported on. We're going to have a little look at what the actual idea about newspaper and magazines and what it does. Why is it better than one set of media and not as good as another, and so on and so on. But there are some very, very basic ideas that we can go and work with really quickly. So we've all seen newspapers and know what they look like. Traditionally, newspapers' sports pages are found at the back of a newspaper. On some of the larger broadsheet papers, which are generally tend to be better written and more in depth, they have their own sports section. So the Telegraph here, for example, has got its own areas about what's been going on in the sports world. Others, the tabloids or the red tops, tend to have 5, 6, 8, 9 pages, depending on what's going on at the time. And you might find that there is, again, that more detail in certain publications than there are in others. One of the major benefits of newspapers is that it gives a really good sense of depth and detail to what's been going on in the sports world. Whether that be a reporting on a match, but you tend to find that people have a lot more opinion and a lot more ideas about what's going on, and it's what we call investigative journalism. So, for example, things like, if you look at the top right over here, it's got very much a lot of detail about the max fitching cloud that happened in one of the last World Cups. It really talks about what was going on and some of the details and some of the interviews that had happened before, and all the things that might not have been able to be happening straight after a game on the TV or the radio or any other form of media. It's really one of those things that people take for granted now, as it is one of the most popular forms of information, but it is getting a bit dated. People are trending to find that information in different ways, and people want that information instantly. They don't want to wait till the next day, and that's where one of the negative aspects of the newspapers are. However, it does form that opinion, as mentioned earlier, and is mobile, can go anywhere, and more newspapers are having online services on their internet pages where you can take it on an iPad or a tablet or on your phone and read it on the bus, wherever, and they update that constantly. So there is a strong link with that internet section of the media that we will talk about later. So recapping again, here are your key terms. Newspapers and magazines tend to be traditional. Magazines tend to be working on either a weekly or monthly basis and go into a lot more of that investigative journalism that you see in point 3 there. But they have that detail. Daily newspapers tend to report on what's happened the day before, and although they have that more comment and maybe more in-depth knowledge than, say, the newspapers, they do obviously have less than, say, maybe a magazine might do. They're always researched, and a lot of the time it's opinion. You might find that they have a guest columnist. So if it's particularly talking about sport, you might find a former footballer, David Beckham, Gary Neville again, or anybody who's got a local weekly column in the newspaper. And people want to hear about that, and that's what people actually look to it from their newspapers. It is mobile as one of the positives, but it is slow to print, and again, people are trying to link it in with that internet online access now. What do you think? I'm interested in hearing what you got to say, so bring it on. Is it actually a form of media that is alive and kicking, or is it one that is dead and has no place in the modern world? Again, look back on this video, make your notes, use it as a revision tool. I hope it helps.